Hey guys, Geoffrey here. So in the previous video, we talked about the stages of the breakdown of this relationship, and in this video, I want to show you the stages of reconciliation. And be sure to stick around to the very end of this video because understanding the stages of reconciliation is going to be super crucial for you to not only get a realistic picture of what it looks like to reconcile, but the different stages of it, the different milestones you can expect, and also the different skills you need to get through to the different milestones as well. So I don't want you to miss a thing here. Everything here has been very crucial for my clients. It's going to be very crucial for you to understand as well. And in case you're new to this channel, my name is Geoffrey and I help men in long-term relationships or in marriages with the right skills and knowledge to not only reconcile by yourself, but also create a thriving relationship that lasts a long time as well. So if you want more content on this topic, be sure to subscribe to this channel and also click that bell button as well to be notified when I post new videos every single week. And before I begin this video, I also want to let you know that the masterclass on the 5 proven steps to rebuilding your relationship from the ground up is still open. So if you want to join me in that masterclass, or if you want to submit your application for the Relationships Revival program that I have, then be sure to stick around to the very end of this video for an announcement on how you can join both those things as well. So the first lesson I want you to get out of this is really understanding this concept of surrender. And this is going to be very crucial when we understand and redefine what it actually means to reconcile. So to understand this concept of surrender, we need to understand that there are 2 kinds of decisions that we make. So there's decisions that we make that we surrender to it, and decisions that we haven't surrendered to it yet. So what are decisions without surrender then? This is when you make a decision, but you haven't really jumped in with both feet yet. I want you to take a moment here to really think about these instances in your life. For example, this could be you signing up for a job where you took the job, but you're not really 100% sold on it yet. You can even take a look at the houses that you bought, or even some relationships that you entered into. You're like, I'm not so sure. She's good, but she's also not the best. I don't know if I can totally just 100% surrender myself to this decision yet. So pause this video here, really think about instances in your life where you have felt this before. Now, if you look back to all those iterations in your life, notice here that in those decisions, yes, you made the decision, but you spend a lot of time second guessing yourself. You spend a lot of time looking at alternatives, looking at other greener pastures and thinking to yourself, ooh, I wish I could get that. I wish I could get that. What if this? What if I consider this? So here you're making a decision, but you're not really jumping in with both feet. You're just kind of straddling your feet into 2 boats in a way. And you're trying to still have 1 foot out the door. And if you notice here, this is really correlated with bigger decisions. The bigger decisions, the more evidence you need to surrender. And it could also be correlated with past traumas as well. So if you have, let's say, a string of very bad relationships in the past, it's going to be making it very hard for you to want to surrender yourself to the decision in the future. And this point is crucial because if you think about your partner coming back to you, coming back to the relationship with you, and you want your partner to surrender to that decision to come back to you, then realize that that's a very big decision. And you need to plant a lot of very good evidence to allow her to surrender to that decision. But also, if you have really hurt your partner in a lot of ways, in very subtle ways often, know that will also require you to plant a lot more evidence, as we'll talk about later, to get your partner to surrender to you as well. Now, the funny thing about decisions without surrender here is that usually if you make a decision without surrendering, you will tend to self-sabotage in many ways you can't even imagine. And the prophecy of that decision not being the right one usually becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. A great example of this again is if one person enters into a relationship not being fully bought into the relationship, then his wishy-washy behavior, him always comparing this relationship to other relationships, will usually ruin that one relationship he's in right now. And that nightmare of this is not the right decision becomes usually a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a really funny thing where if you cannot surrender to your decisions, you will just usually confirm to yourself that those are usually the wrong decisions. Now, on the contrary, there are also decisions with surrender that you make with surrender. This is the decisions where you are 100% in. Once you're in a decision, you're not even second guessing yourself. You are, in fact, using a lot of your willpower, a lot of your thought process to justify the decision. So for example, when you take a job, you're spending the time thinking, wow, this is why this job is so awesome. Instead of why, ooh, what if that job? What if that job? So you're not really second guessing yourself anymore. Same thing with choosing a partner and so on. So these are the decisions you make with surrender. And because you're putting your 100% effort to this one decision, usually that leads to the success of the decision, again, this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy as well. So again, I want you to pause here and really think about what this means. Decisions with surrender and decisions without surrender, and how you've made both in your life, many of them in your life, and how all these principles apply to every decision that you make, whether it's about a relationship or career or whatever it is that you make. That this is a really universal concept. So once we understand that, we need to understand also that there are such things as fake reconciliation versus what we call genuine reconciliation. So when you talk about fake reconciliation, usually your partner comes back, but your partner is not coming back because you did something amazing. She has seen so much change in you, and of all the people in the world she wants to spend the rest of her life with, that person is you. That's not the reason. Usually the reason is with fake reconciliation is that your partner either is scared, is driven by the fear of leaving that relationship, leaving a familiar, comfortable, unknown entity into the unknown, or she comes back out of need. Maybe you provide her some low-level values like financial security, or maybe it's the security of just comfort. But she comes back because she needs you. She needs that relationship. She needs the structure of this relationship. But she doesn't come back because she wants to. So she comes back here out of scarcity, not out of abundance in a way. And this is actually the worst kinds of reconciliation. And when a lot of people, other coaches tout, for example, 70+% success rate, you often have to wonder how many of these reconciliations are actually real versus fake. People coming back to each other out of need, out of comfort, etc. And this is also very easy to manufacture. Usually, you don't really have to create high-level values. You don't really have to change in a massive way. You just have to make your partner need you, disempower your partner for it to come back, which is also very toxic in itself if you think about it. And these kinds of reconciliations is usually written with a lot of anxiety. And this anxiety is because neither of you really know if your partner could wake up one day and just say, you know what, screw this, and have the courage to actually leave the relationship. Because again, they're in this not because they want to, they're in this because they need to. But what if the need goes away? So you're always going to be sleeping with one eye open in this case. It's going to be filled with high resistance too, because again, you haven't really surrendered to that decision. You're always going to be questioning everything. So if you are reconciled, but you still find yourself facing a lot of resistance, this could be it. You could be having fake reconciliation. And it's also temporary, because again, you will self-sabotage, you will get paranoid, you will resist each other and make that reconciliation to something that, you know what, forget this. You'll push away each other even more. Now there's also what we call genuine reconciliation, which is what we want, which is when your partner comes back, but your partner this time has surrendered to that decision of coming back. And here, this decision is not driven by need or fear, but by the hope that of all the people in this world that I can spend the rest of my life with, I choose you. And this is the kind of reconciliation that we truly want, that truly counts, that we, in our program, this is the only kind of reconciliation that we count as a reconciliation. And if you look at any of my testimonial videos, we actually take the time to make sure that these are real reconciliations and not just fake reconciliations. And if you follow all my client stories for years and years and years on out, you'll see that they get stronger and stronger and stronger every single day. And this is the kind of reconciliation that's effortless. No resistance, no butting heads. It's secure. You don't have to sleep with one eye open because you know she chose you for a reason. It's permanent and it's also real. So again, this is what we want. Now again, I have a video that I published last week with Andrew Wade where he went through both types of reconciliations. At first, he did a few shortcuts here and there and his partner came back, but that reconciliation turned out to be fake. And only when he began to really grow himself and gave his partner reasons to choose him that he went through real reconciliation. And even till now, they're still going very, very strong. So when we talk about this reconciliation then, and real reconciliation, and that real reconciliation requires surrender, we have to understand that surrender doesn't just come, it's not just a black and white thing. It's either you surrender or you don't. And it doesn't just happen once. There are actually many stages to the surrender process. And in my experience, after watching 1,500 people go through my program every single year, there's really these 5 stages of surrender that you need to attain. The first stage is surrender. And this is usually happening only when you have caused a lot of damage in your relationship, a lot of damage, is getting your partner to surrender to even seeing or observing your changes. Again, sometimes we have caused so much damage here and we've made so many promises in the past that your partner doesn't even want to see your changes, doesn't even want to observe your changes even. Because she's been burned so many times, you've made so many promises, she's seen the changes and been disappointed over and over and over again over such a long period of time. So the first stage of surrender is, can you get your partner to surrender to actually even observing and seeing your changes? And stage number 2 is, once your partner sees your changes, can you get her to surrender to actually feeling emotional safety with you? And emotional safety is basically, does your partner feel safe to share her thoughts, her feelings, her deepest ones, not the surface ones, the deepest ones with you? She can be sharing 99 of the surface ones, but if she's not sharing the one deep one, the one tough one, you don't have emotional safety. So usually what happens at this stage is that your partner's default is not to share with you, but to just let the assumptions that she has about you, about the relationship, just stew within. Doesn't matter if the assumptions are correct or wrong, but she stews with it. And when she stews with it, it becomes worse, it becomes worse, and becomes worse. And you'll see this often with some relationships where, guys get really confused, for example. When their partner makes an assumption, their partner gets really angry at them. And the partner finally tells them, like, well, here's why I'm angry with you. And they realize that it's all these assumptions, these misassumptions, these false assumptions about what they did, about what happened, etc., that they've been harboring in them. If this is you, then you don't have emotional safety. That's the real problem in the relationship, is you don't have emotional safety. And if this is the case, you're going to be fighting a losing battle, because you could be doing nothing to provoke anything. Your partner could be just sitting on a couch and stewing things by herself, and she could be hating you and getting angry at you even more, and pulling away from you even more. Right? So if you don't create emotional safety, you create nothing. So the second stage is, can you get your partner to surrender to feeling emotionally safe with you? Number 3 is, can you get your partner to feel and surrender to feeling psychologically safe with you? And the difference between emotional safety and psychological safety here is that emotional safety is about, can your partner express? And psychological safety is, can your partner listen to you? When you say something, will she listen to you, or will she resist you every single step of the way? And if she doesn't feel psychological safety to you, then there's nothing really you can say to convince her of your changes or plant seeds in a way. There's nothing really you can do to reconcile. So the third stage again is, can your partner feel like she can surrender to feeling psychologically safe with you? Number 4 is, can your partner surrender to feeling mutual admiration? And again, mutual admiration, if we talk about the masterclass, is going to be the glue that holds the both of you together. When things are rough, when things are tough, when there's a lot of conflicts, the admiration we have for each other, the fact that we say to each other, hey, we're going through a rough time, but of all the people in the world I want us to go through this rough time with is you, that's when you are very close to unbreakable. And the 5th stage is, can you get your partner to surrender to actually having some goal alignment and working towards those goals with you for the long haul as well? And when you have this pillar, this is again when your relationship becomes unbreakable. So if you noticed here, if you are familiar with my work, this is really the 5 pillars that we are talking about right here. Except sexual passion isn't here, but the first 4 pillars of the relationship mountain, as we call it. And once you get this 5 stages of surrender, that's when your partner surrenders to the relationship for real. And that's when you can, she will come back in a real way, and you can start to begin building a thriving relationship, not just a fake reconciliation as well. Now, I can't go too deep into the how of all these phases right now, or these stages right now. That's a topic for another video, but I just want to give you this outline of what these stages look like. And no matter where you are, no matter what your situation is, no matter what you're going through, the stages are exactly the same. The stages remain the same, which is why we often say, no matter what your starting point is, no matter what you're going through, the remedies are always the same. Your situation isn't really different. Now, what's also interesting is that if you look at the space between the different stages, there's also certain phases between the different stages as well. So, for example, to truly understand this, I want you to pause here and really think about, okay, when you were able to surrender to a decision in your other parts of life, what were the key ingredients that you needed to be able to surrender to that decision? And once you give that a pause, you'll realize that there's always the same 4 ingredients that you need to be able to surrender to the decision. And these are the same 4 ingredients that you need to be able to provide for your partner to allow her that opportunity to actually surrender to the different stages as well. So for example, if we look at here, On top is the previous stage of surrender. Maybe this is 1, maybe this is 2, 3, 4 for you, I don't know. And the next stage of surrender. There's again 4 phases you need to honor, you need to allow, you need to give your partner for her to be able to surrender to the next stage. So the first is you gotta plant a lot of evidence to support why she can surrender to the decision. So again, if you're talking about a job, if you're talking about a house, for example, your real estate agent or that employer better give you a lot of evidence to support why that job is the right job. Of all the jobs you can pick, why is that job the right job? Now, in the concept of a relationship, in the 5 stages, you have to understand that each of the 5 stages here, depending on where you are, if you're trying to get your partner to surrender to number 1 or number 2, number 3, you need to plant different kinds of evidence. And this is where the understanding of the frameworks and the principles behind relationships really, really matter. And we have 100+ hours of content in our program teaching you what these frameworks are, what these principles are to help you tailor your approach depending on what situation you're in. Now, the second phase is what we call the paradox of change phase. And we talk about this in some of our videos, but this is when the phase when, you know what, as you're planting evidence is great, but planting evidence in your partner is necessary, but not sufficient. Your partner actually needs to test you. The same way, for example, when you're considering a house, when you're considering a job, you need to be quite antithetic about it. You need to ask yourself, okay, not only do I need to consider what the realtor or what the employer said, which is here's why the job is great, but I also need to consider the question of how is the job not great? How is this house not great? What could be wrong with this house? What could be wrong with this job? And the way your partner tests this, usually, so she sees all this evidence that you're building, but the way she tests whether these changes, this job is, that your changes are real, are permanent or not, is through what we call the paradox of change. Again, the principle behind this is that anyone can fake being good, can fake being changed, can fake being bulletproof, can fake being happy, thriving when things are easy. But not everybody can thrive through very difficult moments, to very difficult challenges, when they're getting curveballs, when they have the hope taken away from them. Can you still stay your new self, or do you revert back to your old self? If, under these very difficult moments, these very difficult tests and resistances, you crumble, you go back to your old self, that will tell your partner that your changes were very conditional, were not real, were not permanent, and if those motivators were to go away for you to keep changing, then you'll go back to your old self. And this is the perfect indication to your partner that if she does come back to you, because you're changing for the wrong reasons, you're probably going to go back to your old self again, and she's going to be burned again. But if you can still stay your new self, despite these challenges, despite these difficulties, and you can show your partner here that there is really no motivation, no ulterior motive behind your changes, and you can still change, that's when your partner really starts to believe you. So this is the stage, the phase that is actually the most important. This is when your partner is going to make it the hardest for you. Take away all hope from you, tells you that there's no hope, tells you that, you know what, you shouldn't even change because I'm not even coming back to you, etc., etc., etc. I mean, we've heard it all. If you crumble during this phase, then that will tell your partner everything. If you still stay thriving during this phase, that will tell your partner everything. But again, she needs to make it hard. She has to make it hard for you to make sure that you are the real deal. Which is why it's a shame when, some people, they say, for example, you know what, I'll do anything to get my relationship back. But then the next day, their partner tells them, you know what, forget it, I'm never going to come back to you again. And they suddenly remove all their motivation. They lose all their motivation to want to change themselves. Well, by doing that, by giving up during that dip, you just told your partner everything she needed to know. So the second stage, you got to pass the second stage, this dip, this really tough resistance stage, to give your partner the evidence that you have changed. Now, the third stage is also very important, which is when you're trying to empower your partner to explore their alternatives and explore it by herself. And when I mean empower here, I'm not just saying allowing, I'm saying actually encourage your partner to explore those alternatives. And the best example I can give you here is, let's say, okay, you're picking a flavor of ice cream here, but let's up the stakes a bit. Whatever flavor you pick, you can only eat that flavor for the rest of your life. Like once you make that pick, you have to pick that flavor for the rest of your life. I mean, this is like your relationship. Once you pick a person, you have to spend your whole life with that person. So you better pick right. This is a big deal. This is a big decision. Well, what if we say to you, You can't trial. You can't like taste different flavors. You can't try different flavors. You have to look at the flavors, given very limited evidence, given very limited information, and pick the flavor. Okay, so let's say you pick chocolate. Can you truly surrender to the decision? It's hard. Because you're going to be watching people who are eating tiramisu, who's eating birthday cake, vanilla even, mango, pomegranate, and you're going to be thinking to yourself, what if? What if? What would it taste like? What would it taste like? Same thing for relationships. If we want our partner to actually surrender to the decision, we have to be able to empower her the freedom to actually explore other alternatives. And to a lot of people, this can seem very, very controversial. So I'm going to make another video here where we'll talk about why this is actually not as controversial as you think. And I'm also going to talk about what this means to actually empower your partner to explore other alternatives as well. But again, if you're thinking this is controversial, stay tuned for my future videos because this is going to be too long of a video if we discuss this right now. But again, we have 1,500 people plus in our program every single year, and many of whom are business leaders, are very strong masculine leaders in the community, and they don't have a problem with this. And if you're thinking this is batshit crazy again, I want you to think about this. You cannot solve your problem with the same knowledge that you used that created the problems in the first place. So if you're skeptical of this, if you're like thinking this is batshit crazy, think about, okay, what knowledge are you using to think this is crazy? Probably the same knowledge that you used to create the problems in the first place. So be careful here. Again, stay tuned for my next video for more on this topic again. Now, the last ingredient here that she needs is really the freedom to be able to surrender in her own time. So again, here, imagine if you're given all three of the previous ingredients, but the person asking you to surrender to the decision is saying to you, you've got 5 minutes. Hurry up. Make a decision now. It'll be much harder for you to surrender to the decision because even if you make it, it seems coerced. It seems like the decision's not even yours. Someone made it for you. Someone forced you to do it. While if you were just given the time to actually make the decision yourself, then that decision becomes something you can sit with more comfortably within yourself. So if you can give your partner these 4 ingredients, these 4 phases properly, then you are going to be really allowing your partner to surrender to the different stages and ultimately surrender to reconciliation and the whole relationship in itself as well. So the final lesson I want to give you here is really what are the skills and how do you actually honor and give your partner these 4 principles, these 4 phases to allow your partner to surrender as well. And it's really 4 skills, 4 key skills. Now within these 4 skills, there's a lot more skills beneath the umbrella. But these are the 4 categories of skills that you really need. Number 1 is you have to be able to master the principles and the processes enough for you to be able to improvise your approach depending on what stage you're in. So again, we talk about planting evidence and how each stage you're in, you need to plant different kinds of evidence. So for you to do that, you need to be able to tailor your approach. And for you to tailor your approach, you need to master something well enough so that you can improvise it on your own. The second skill you need is really what we call identity-based changes. And unfortunately, this is something that very few courses or coaches talk about. Is that they tell you what to do, they tell you what to say, but they don't tell you how to shift your identity, how to shift your subconscious, your programming, so that these new behaviors become your default. So what usually happens is that, if you think about, again, all the tests that your partner's giving you at any given moment, yes, you can have 3, 4, 5 of these tests, and you can ace 3 or 4 or 5 of this. But what about the other 100 that she's giving you right now, right? Again, you cannot consciously try to pass all 100 with tactics. This is why tactics don't work. And the best analogy I can give you is, for example, what if the subconscious part of your brain doesn't really exist, and you have to now suddenly consciously control your breathing, control every foot, every time you walk, you have to control how you walk every step of the way. You have to control every of your liver function, your organ functions. I mean, life will become very overwhelming very quickly. But this is actually what happens when you try to use tactics to fix your relationship, is that you can only fix a surface level of things. But there's so many underlying hidden things that you do that you need to pay attention to that you can't possibly pay attention to. So if the only way to do this, the only way to get this right, to pass the test of the patterns of change, is if you make the changes into your default. That you do it without even thinking. That's your new way of doing things now. So now instead of unconsciously making mistakes and killing the relationship, you're not unconsciously doing the right things and passing the test without even thinking about it. The same way, if you are putting all of this crazy processes of your body into your subconscious and automate them, you're breathing, you're walking without even knowing about it, which frees up your mind to actually do bigger and better things. And to give your partner ingredient number 3, which is, again, what allows you to empower your partner to actually explore the alternatives. We need to change our paradigms often of what power means in a relationship, what it means to be masculine, what it means to be together, what it means to be married, what it means to be in a relationship. Because a lot of times we have very toxic ideas of what it means to be in a marriage, where we see marriage as we own someone. And no matter what, this person has to choose us. And we expect that person to respect us, to choose us no matter what we do, no matter what happens. We start to treat people like robots instead of treat people like humans. And so again, if you have a problem here with what I said about you have to empower your partner to actually explore alternatives, and you think this is crazy, then perhaps it's time for you to humble down and really consider other alternatives. Because obviously your alternative right now, it's not working. It's causing a lot of havoc. And to do this, you need to understand what it means to be untethered as well. What it means to be bulletproof, how to interpret your world and your relationship and your life in a very different way, in a much healthier way as well. And the fourth skill you need is really the ability to drive conversations that empower other people, that plants the seeds that help people make decisions, but you don't make the decisions for them, but you empower other people to make decisions themselves and buy into the decision themselves and actually surrender to whatever decisions that they're making as well. So these are the 4 core skills that you need. Now, if you want to see just how universal these principles are, feel free to watch any and all of my client stories. If you watch any of them, you'll see that they follow the same exact pattern, the same exact journey as well. And if you want to learn more about the skills that you need to really help your partner to surrender to the different stages here, then feel free to join me in my masterclass, where I'll talk about the exact skills and processes and all the same principles that all my clients have used to go from the brink of a divorce, something very dire, something very hopeless, to a reconciliation, a thriving relationship that they can be happy with for the rest of their life. So if you want to join me in the masterclass, be sure to click the link above my head, also down below this video. And at the end of the masterclass, if you want to apply for the program, you can also do so at the end of the masterclass. We'll give you instructions to do so as well. And if you want to download a free guide where you can understand how to lead conversations better, you can also click the link above my head right now. But in the meantime, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave a comment below. I would love to hear from you. And if you found this video valuable, like it and subscribe to this channel for more content like this one. But for now, I'll leave you with these 2 other videos with more skills and knowledge for you to design a thriving relationship by yourself. For now, guys, I'll see you in the next video.